Imagine casting your vote in a presidential election only to find out that the candidate with the most votes may not become the next president of the United States. This paradox exists because of a unique and often misunderstood mechanism, the Electoral College. Although often overlooked, the Electoral College plays a critical role in determining the outcome of U.S. presidential elections. This redefines the influence of individual states and therefore determines their capacity to shape American history. Today, I'll discuss the historical context of the Electoral College, explain how it functions, and explore its modern relevance in shaping presidential elections. To understand the Electoral College, let's travel back to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, where America's founding fathers gathered to design a new government structure. They faced a dilemma over how to elect a president. Many delegates, as noted by the Brennan Center for Justice, were wary of a direct popular vote, fearing what they referred to as mob rule. Others, however, believed that the president should be elected directly by the people. Ultimately, the framers compromised with the Electoral College, a system designed to balance the influence of both large and small states. This system provided each state with a voice in presidential elections and ensured that smaller states wouldn't be overshadowed by larger, more populous states. Now that we've covered the historical context, let's look at how the Electoral College functions today. Each state receives a number of electoral votes based on its representation in Congress, and each state has a minimum of 3 votes. In total, there are 538 electoral votes, and a candidate must secure at least 270 votes in order to win the presidency. As explained by the Bipartisan Policy Center, most states use what is called a winner-takes-all system, meaning that the candidate who receives the majority of the popular vote gets all of that state's electoral votes. Exceptions to this rule are Maine and Nebraska, which allocate their votes based on congressional district. If no candidate receives the required 270 votes, the decision goes to the House of Representatives, where each state delegation casts 1 vote for president. While this system may seem straightforward, it has generated controversy in recent elections. One criticism is that the Electoral College can create a gap between the popular vote and the election outcome. For example, in the 2000 election between George W. Bush and Al Gore, the U.S. Supreme Court intervened and halted a Florida recount, effectively awarding the presidency to Bush despite Gore winning the national popular vote. Another example is the 2016 election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. According to CNN, Clinton won the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes, yet Trump won the Electoral College and ultimately won the presidency. These outcomes have led some to question whether the Electoral College accurately reflects the will of the people. The 2020 and 2024 elections did not receive as much backlash as 2016 because in both elections, the winner won both the popular vote and the Electoral College. Supporters of the Electoral College argue that it protects smaller states by ensuring that presidential candidates cannot rely solely on votes from large urban areas in order to win the office. The Brennan Center explains that this system encourages candidates to campaign in a wide variety of areas, including rural and less populated areas. This preserves regional diversity and electoral strategy. Additionally, the Electoral College makes swing states particularly important. States like Florida and Pennsylvania, with voting patterns that can change from election to election, often become the focus of intense campaigning, as winning these states can mean winning the presidency. Today's most critical swing states are North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona. Swing states evolve over time. Past swing states like Ohio, Florida, Colorado, and others are more predictable than they once were. Ultimately, the predictability of different states changes as our political climate evolves and our migration patterns change. With polling becoming increasingly inaccurate, many look to swing states for an indicator as to how the election will turn out. As we've seen, the Electoral College is a complex institution with significant implications for American democracy. Today, we explored its historical origins, examined how it functions, and discussed its impact on modern elections. Whether you support or oppose the Electoral College, understanding its function is essential to appreciating the unique structure of our democratic process. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, so Why does Florida have 30 electoral votes and Iowa only have 6?
So the electoral votes are awarded based on congressional representation, which is awarded based on population. So every congressional district has about 700,000 votes, and that goes on to determine, so you add up the congressional seats plus the 2 senators, and that's how you get the total number.
Do United States territories like the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico get electoral votes?
No, the only area in the United States that is not a state that receives electoral votes is Washington, D.C.